Hey, what's up out there, everybody? It's David Cravens back again on the Relentless Hope Podcast. And here we are at the 239 Live studio in the back part where Tim Jarrett makes me go, in the trailer park. It's in the back. So if you're looking for me, you come in the front door, you won't find me. Go around back, go through the gate, get some bolt cutters. We're there because I am straight out the trailer. That makes me feel good every time. And over here to my right, we know who she is. It's that beautiful little savage that I love so much. So I'm like, tickle that little buddy.
Tickle to what?
You're taking.
What you tickling?
Hey,
Rock?
I'm a
Beautiful savage.
She's stealing my thunder.
We're just getting us through that.
Back when I danced, and they called me White Thunder.
I thought it was cupcake.
Well, I came out of a cupcake one time. But anyway, that's enough of that. What's up out there, everybody? Glad to be back. Feels like it's been a while since we've been here. We've been on the go, right, babe?
It does. Feels like
Yeah.
it's been a minute.
Shout out to all our people at the XO in Texas.
Yes.
Shout out to Mr. Eric Kennedy for having us on the Recovery Vow podcast. That episode will be coming. Also, a link to Eric Kennedy's stuff is below.
Right.
Go check him out. Doing an awesome work in the recovery world and in the marriage world. Just a good dude. Overall, great, humble guy. Brought us on. It was a good time.
It was.
I don't know if I'm too crazy about them angles, Eric. I'm not too crazy about the side view. I'm more of a straight on kind of fella. That's why it takes an hour for D Money and Tim Jarrett to get me ready down here.
You all situated.
They know I like D Money knows I like my front on angles there. You know what I mean? But no, I'm just playing. It was a good time. Got to see Brent, the marriage mogul.
Yes.
Him and his father are the goats of marriage.
Absolutely.
When it comes to it, Brent's just an awesome guy. Got to see Miss Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
She taught an awesome class on
Love Heidi.
Conflict resolution.
Yep.
That was cool. Then we did Eric's class on addiction.
Yeah.
Marriage after addiction. And then we got to see our boy Dave kind of running the place
Dave.
around there. He was out there working. He's an awesome guy.
That
Hit
was
the
cool.
coffee shop. It was awesome. What else did we do? We went to a rodeo.
A women's rodeo.
A woman's rodeo, yes. That was
Pretty
was cool down at the stockyards. We went, got to see my nephew and his awesome wife Tina. We drove and went to Waco, Texas, and met and got to see him. I hadn't seen him since he was young. Just very proud of him. Yeah, Jahnna kept calling him my cousin. She's like, "I'm going to meet your cousin." I'm like, "He's my nephew."
He likes cousin.
Yeah, but
don't you,
when
Kyle?
we told him, he laughed. Just awesome couple. We just
It was
talked.
fun.
We'd still be there talking if they wouldn't have kicked us out of the place after we ate.
Yeah. What about that bougie restaurant?
Yeah, that restaurant cost a little more than was in Dave's budget. I'm
Wasn't in the
telling you
budget.
what, John, I said, find us a nice place to eat.
I found one.
And she found one. No, it was awesome. We had a good time.
It was
Food
a cool
was amazing.
hotel. Still
Yeah.
didn't Google that yet.
Yeah, it was in Waco, Texas.
Waco.
Another thing we did, we went on the JFK assassination tour because it happened in. Thought that it was conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
After you go on this tour, Tim Jarrett, and your guy, Tim Jarrett's sitting off camera here. I like when he's here. I had to pay him to get him on mine. You know what I mean? It takes, but no, I'm just playing. I've always thought though that was like a conspiracy because if you watch it on TV, when you see him reacted or the thing, it seems really far away, right? But when you're there, I think I could pop that shot off, man. Like it's not that far. You know what I mean?
No,
like if you
not
watch
far.
it, you're like, there's no way he could have.
Oh, yes, he could.
Yeah, it's not that far, man. It's not. And then you look at that building, you think it's high. It's not that tall of a building. Have you ever been there before, Tim? Yeah. Well, we went on with. Let me tell you about this fella. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
So we start looking. That's our last day. We're like, what can we do that's fun? And so let's go to Dallas. We'll do JFK tour. So we got the good one where they tell you about everything. So next time,
3-hour tour.
if you ever go there, just go to the museum. He wasn't making marriage great again. I bet you he didn't have a wife or a girlfriend because he knew way too much knowledge about JFK. We went on a 3-hour tour.
2 times.
3-hour tour, and everything he said it at least twice. Lee Harvey Oswald started his own club. Couldn't get one member. Club couldn't get one member. Order that gun for $12. I mean, I was like, eh. And so, we met this guy from Australia. because we were all in there together for 3 hours. And me and him were making so many jokes. So when we were going through the museum, he's like, "How many members did he have?" I was like, "Couldn't get one." You know what I mean? And but really, we were at the grassy knoll. We were at, we
Mhm.
went to where Lee Harvey Oswald's room was, where he was staying
Where
at
he
the
was
boarding house,
boarding.
where he went after the back. It looks exactly the same. The house, the carpet,
Mhm.
they haven't changed anything inside of this place.
That was nuts
And the
to
lady
me.
whose grandma owned it,
Her
she
grandma.
was there, and they give a tour, but she's talking to somebody else about it. And our guy is totally against the conspiracy stuff. He's like, she's giving them all fake information right now. Because there's no, he was like against the conspiracy stuff, and he was like a investigative. He
Yeah,
doesn't work with Candace
yeah.
Owens
On
before on like
what was the Live Wire? What was that show called? The Candace Owens was
no, the
on?
one where she redone Making a Murderer or whatever it was.
Yeah, but it aired on
Yeah,
that.
on the
Remember?
thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, he was windy, buddy, and we was getting hot in that van.
Yeah.
I was like, buddy, every time we get out, can you just leave the air running on here? So we did that, and then we flew back and got home.
Yeah. Thursday night.
It was an awesome trip, though. Every time we come back from Texas, I always say this: whenever you got your mission and your goal, and you know what you're doing, it's a lot easier,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
It's 100% easier. So that was it. We're doing that. We're going to be going back, finishing our certification for
Yes.
that.
I'm pumped.
Couple other things going on that we can't talk about yet, but in the works coming out. We'll be talking about it. But we wanted to hop on here today, get down here. There's something that bothers me. Sometimes it affects me, and anybody who says it doesn't, either they're lying or they're more mature and they're maybe not in the public eye or whatever. But there's an addiction that we don't always talk about, and the addiction is called the addiction of approval.
Hmm.
What do you think the addiction of approval means, babe? What would you think of that?
It just means that you center yourself on worrying about what everybody else thinks about you.
That's
You
right.
know?
Right. It's called FO. Let me see on here. Make sure I get these words right. I won't get censored. Down here. FOPO, the fear of other people's opinions.
Mm.
That's an actual medical term.
Mm-hmm. Like being a people pleaser.
Yeah, people. And I'm naturally a people pleaser. I mean, I try to make people happy.
To an extent.
Yeah, to an extent. I've changed it a lot. But I mean, I'll go over and beyond for customers and where it stresses me out when I could, I'm getting better at shutting it down.
But you're not real worried about what people think about you.
No.
I have to say, and that's one thing that I love about you.
Yes and no. You know what I mean? I'm not, but if I didn't worry about what people think of us, I wouldn't be worried about, are they watching this? Are they sharing our stuff? Or how do we look to this or this? But overall, no, I really don't care what people think, because if you care what people think, you'll stay trapped the whole time, right? You'll stay in this circle. We really need to care about what God thinks.
That's what I was going to say.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if we don't take the step out, it's kind of like growing up in the Christian world. Like people will be like, oh, I don't think you should do this, or, hey, you need to do it like this. And I'm not talking about taking advice. I'm not talking about getting counsel. I'm talking about when you let advice and counsel and what people think go over what God's called you to do. Because God's not going to tell anybody more than you what you're called to do.
Absolutely, 100%. I know. I've always, like when people tell you, well, God told me to tell you this. And sometimes I think maybe that does happen. But I also know that if the Holy Spirit's trying to tell me something, he tells me directly too.
Well, yeah. I mean, when God called you to do what you're going to do, he didn't send out a mass text and have a meeting and 12 people talk about it. He told you what he was going to do. And if you don't step out and not worry about what people thinks, you'll never do anything.
Absolutely.
You see what I mean? Because it's like, if you want to find out how something works, you don't talk to the thing, you talk to the person who created the thing. Right? You don't ask a broken clock the time.
Right.
And if it's going to fix it, so we don't need to ask the thing. We need to ask who created the thing.
Creator.
God, what do you want us to do? Not what people.
Right.
And so a lot of us out there are living in fear of other people's opinions. We live in a time now that people can that don't know you, they've never had lunch with you,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know you personally,
Mm-mm.
have an opinion about what you're doing,
Oh yeah.
about why you do it, how you said it. You have to explain it.
Right.
What you ate last night,
Yeah.
right? And we all offer that. When you put we're worried about that. When you put yourself in an influencer space, as soon as you hit upload, I don't care if you got 10 followers,
Oh yeah. Get
1,000
ready.
followers, 1,000,000 followers, you're
You're gonna
in
have
front of the
backlash.
public people.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent time and energy and resources trying to prove why we said something
Mm.
or what our motive is to people who are online that we don't even really know.
Right.
Right. And so I'm to the thing, and the reason why I started talking about this was, I kind of woke up and Jackson fills me in about this or
Yeah.
that.
What's going on?
And as much as I pride myself, which I'm trying to quit using that term, pride in myself,
Mhm.
but there's also a thing that's good pride too, where you
Yeah,
take
there
pride in
is.
your work and integrity in your work. Is Jackson fills me in what person said this or
Right.
this and that, and sometimes there's going to be people that don't understand you.
Mm.
There's going to be people that aren't rooting for you. There's going to be people that aren't in your corner. There's
Right.
going to be seasons where people are cheering you on. There's going to be seasons where they aren't cheering you on. And there's going to be seasons when God don't let them cheer you on because it might be a test to see if you're going to do what he's called you to do without the applause.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
so Jackson brought some stuff to my attention. And sometimes he says, well, Dad, I don't even tell you stuff unless they say something about his mom. No, they worried about what set she's on, working out. You know who you are, pal. She's worried about what set she's on. Jackson sees it all, and but he'll put a thrashing on you. You mess with his mama. Don't mess with Jackson's mama now. But he brought some stuff to my attention, good and bad.
Right.
And people that this and that. And I go,
I'm never in on these conversations.
well, that's because we do it like on the way to the bus stop, or if he's sitting out at the table, or if we're in the garage. You know
Right.
what I mean? But also ask him. You know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, is
Yeah,
this
what's
going
going
on, or
on?
what's going on? And anyway, he don't go overly expounding either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He'll just say this person does this, or this
Gives you
person
the
said
highlights.
this, or that person. And even your family, your family may not even understand what God's called you to do.
Mm.
They some people want to squeeze you in. As long as you're doing what they think you should be doing, you're okay.
Yeah.
Your friends might not understand the
No,
legacy you're called to
because
leave.
exactly. Everybody. That's what I was going to say. Everybody has different callings.
Yeah.
So you're responsible for what your calling is and what desires have been put in your heart. And I don't know. I just don't really feel like I worry about that much.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have Jackson start reading you this stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
then it might change.
You might be worried.
Yeah.
I think sometimes he'll protect,
Yeah.
us both from stuff, or somebody sends something.
But
If
people
you
are
don't think-
always gonna.
Well-
It's like you said. Anytime you put yourself in that space, you're giving somebody a voice over you.
Well, you don't need people's permission to
Mhm.
walk in what God's called you to do.
Mm-mm.
If you're out there, and listen, again, I'm not talking about good advice or good godly counsel or good business counsel. I mean, there's time I've called Tim and
Mhm.
asked him his opinion on something, or, hey, what do you think about this? Or there's times I might text Pastor Paul and say, hey,
Absolutely.
man, I'm got this to move. He's been my mentor, or Larry, or my mom, or
Right.
whoever the person may be that I hold or regard in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, if you wait for people's permission to do what God's called you to do, like,
You'll never do it.
perfect example. And of course, EXO, we were listening to The Legacy today.
Mhm.
Remember, I like to watch that video about the building.
Cool.
And Jimmy Evans said, when they first started, when they said they were going to do that ministry, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, I can
Right?
imagine.
Yeah. So all these things. But if you wait for people to approve the call and the vision they couldn't see the vision that he had.
Yeah.
They didn't realize, here it is 50 years later and
Yeah.
still around, and it's going, sometimes people will tell you, no, what he said was,
Mm.
oh, that'll never happen, or I don't see that happening, or something
Yeah,
like that.
and I know I've been guilty of that.
Yeah.
Even when you've told me something and I'm just kind of like, oh, that seems like a stretch. But no, I mean, you're right.
Well, you said something the other day, that this was, I don't know if we were traveling or where we were at or right. I said, I've got, every time we leave somewhere, I've got this, and we're going to do this and this
Hmm.
and this. And I get energized. And you go, who are you talking to? Right. Cause I was talking to myself. Right. Tim, you ever do this? You ever get these ideals? And this is where me and Tim are a lot alike.
Yeah.
This is why when we do get on the phone, we
Oh, I
might not
know.
talk all week, but I know we haven't. Usually we talk a couple times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends. But when we do get on the phone, we stay on for a minute, catching up, going over
Hmm.
ideals and this and this. And I was like, this and this. And Johnny goes, who are you talking to? I was like, oh, I'm just, and then I said these words, I'm not even going to tell you
Mm.
anyway, because you're just going to think it's stupid and you don't get it. And she goes, and then you go, no, I do
Hmm.
get it. I want you to tell me. You know what I mean? And that's where we've grown. That she's been around. She knows there's been things that I've spoken. I've manifested it just by
Yeah,
speaking it out, and
absolutely.
God taking it. Like I told her 3 years ago, whenever I seen them cut the ribbon of the XO building,
Yeah.
whatever year it was, whatever. I said, we're gonna be at that building.
You
We're going
did.
to that building,
You did.
and we're gonna be there, and we're gonna be on the podcast. I started saying all kind of stuff, but I believed it.
Right.
Same thing with DDP. I said, hey,
You
I'm
did.
going to meet DDP, and I'm gonna talk to him, and I'm gonna tell him how he changed my life. And who would think? You know
I
what I
know.
mean?
Well,
Like,
no, I've learned that. And I'd have to say, I didn't used to be such a dreamer,
yeah,
I think because probably my life was so chaotic. And then once I started getting clean, and it was like, all right, the Bible tells you to have visions and dreams of what you want to come into fruition. So
yeah,
then it was, I started setting dreams. I started having visions for
yeah.
our life, and they definitely come to pass.
Yeah. And there's a part in our song "Following Dreams" where I go, "You married a dreamer, girl.
Yeah.
Did you count that
How'd
cost?"
you count that
Because my
cost?
mom's been telling me my whole life, David, you're a dreamer and you live in
Yeah.
a
And
fantasy
that's a
world.
good
You
thing.
know what I mean? And people told me my whole life, you ain't going. And I'll be like, oh yeah, man, I'm going to
No,
do it.
no.
I'm
You can
telling
make
you,
some
I'm
stuff
going to do it.
happen.
I'm going to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you let other people control your dreams and your call of God, then you'll never do
Mm,
what you were called to do.
that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because people are very good at squashing things for you.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
well, A, they don't want to see you do it.
yeah,
B, they don't believe you can do it.
right.
C, God didn't speak it to them, so they can't fathom it.
Yeah, they don't have that vision.
They can't.
Yeah,
How many people I know a guy who started a church one time. You know what I mean? And they're like, and he had like 1,000 member church. He did pretty
yeah,
good. Well, he went to another church, and he was growing up thinking, oh, you can't be healed right now. That was the old thing.
right.
And he's seen some healing, so he went out and started his own little church. And they're
Mhm.
like, oh, this ain't gonna last. What are you
Mm,
doing? And Pastor Ken, what are you doing here? He said, this is where God told me to be. He had like a little bitty little storefront with members. 65 years later, it's one of the biggest churches there is
wow.
in Texas, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that shows you, if they would have listened to what people say and not what God say,
Mm.
how many lives wouldn't have been changed? You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't do this.
that was like what we were listening to with Jimmy Evans about how he had heard the kids, right? The little kids saying
Mhm.
um, that he couldn't quit what he was doing
Yeah.
because this was going to affect their parents and their lives,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think that is so important to us that we want to change that.
Well,
We want to be part of that.
I'm not here to impress. I'm here to make an impact.
Right.
You know what I mean? Somebody asked me, why do you guys do what you do? David, why are you taking resources and going here?
Mm,
David, why are you and Jahnna so passionate about marriage? Here's what it is. I'm passionate for my grandkids.
right.
All right. I'm passionate for my kids and for my grandkids and the legacy that we're going to leave.
Hmm.
My grandkids will never see the guy that we make jokes about and tell stories about. They'll never know that side of me. And my kids now, even the older ones, will know that, hey, they changed in the end. I want our marriage to be a model marriage of what our kids want, the ones
Hmm.
that are getting married. I want our marriage to be a model marriage of what my sons, daughters, and grandkids see.
Right.
So when we go on, that's what we pass down. I don't want to pass down different babies' moms. I don't want to pass down 3, 4, 5, 6 marriages. I don't want to pass down turmoil. I don't want to see kids out of the home. I don't want to see kids grow up without their father or their mother around. I
Mhm.
want to see them parents in the same household to affect their community for good. Healthy home, healthy community.
Right.
That's the way it goes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's why I get passionate. And back to what it was when Jackson said, "Oh, this person,
Yeah.
that," but then this person, this. It made me think: do I have FOPO? Do I have fear of other people's opinions?
Right.
I think every person does one way
Has
or the other.
somewhat. Yeah.
Somewhat. Of course, I want to release stuff and it look good, and
Yeah.
I want us to be
But
funny.
that also comes into play with integrity and excellence. You
Yeah.
know, if you're gonna do something, do it well.
Yeah.
Right. Don't just half.
Just don't half donkey
I
it.
stopped myself.
Don't you half donkey it. Don't you dirty dog. No, but yeah, don't half butt it, if you will.
He was taking his nap.
Tim's taking his, I'm sorry, Tim. I woke Tim up. He always falls asleep on the Relentless Hope podcast. He's like, I done heard this guy talk for an hour.
He's like, I've been up for a long time.
He's like, I've been up on the 239 live. And if you haven't, go like, subscribe,
Yes.
and tune in on Mondays, Wednesdays, and
stuff.
Fridays. I will say the ratings might be a little better for Doughboys on there. No, I'm just playing. It's awesome. It's getting better. People are following it.
Yeah.
Go check it out. We're thankful for the 239 Live Studio and Tim Jarrett,
Like, yeah.
D-Money, and all they do for us. We wouldn't be who we were without them.
Right.
But really though, that's the whole fear of other people's opinions. I had to ask myself because it started to bother me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you can't expect people to be. There's different seasons. There's some people that'll never support you. There's also sometimes God holds it back until it's time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I believe that.
I mean, there was a time then I was like, oh man, we should be doing this. Why aren't we doing this? And a lot of that's coming full circle now.
I know.
But we've put in some work and we had to grow in areas.
Absolutely.
And we're still growing in areas. And but really the whole reason of the Relentless Hope podcast is not to impress you, it's to make an impact. And I used to think, what's our story going to do? And you guys have heard it, but it's coming full circle where we're seeing it impact people's lives and marriages in the real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
in the real world.
Especially starting with our kids.
Yeah.
That makes me more happy than anything.
Anything makes me happy is to see Adriana and Max in marriage class and seeing young people, D-Money and Eduardo in class, or to see everybody
Bree
in
and
Class.
Mike and treatment,
And Bree and Mike are in treatment, and Teresa and Ethan making their moves, and Ashley and Jared.
Yes.
Jared proposed to Ashley, which makes me super happy.
Absolutely.
And so it starts with our family, but it starts with us.
Absolutely.
Really, I've said this before. I don't really care what anybody thinks about me, but what Jesus, if I can make him happy and what he says about me, try to live the best of my ability, and her, and then be my kids' heroes. That's really all I want. All the other stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
People to say, oh man, you're doing this and you're doing that, but so ask yourself out there today, every time you make a post or every time you do something, doesn't have to even be social media, do you run it through a filter? Do you wonder like, hey, what is so-and-so going to think about me? Oh, I want to stay in the good graces of the boss. Or, hey, every time you make a post, are you wondering how many likes you're going to get or who's going to do this? Are you doing it to impress? Or are you doing it to make an impact? Because let me tell you something. As many people as you're impressing today, somebody else will come along and impress them. But there's people in my life, listen, I've seen a lot of good pastors and I've heard a lot of good messages, but nobody's made an impact on my life like Pastor Paul Ayapa. He impacted me. Yeah. And there's stuff that he said to me as a young kid that I hold till this day. And you've heard me say it. Now, is his congregation thousands of thousands? No, but I'm telling you what, I guarantee you every person in his congregation he comes in contact, he makes a long-lasting life impression, impact. Not impression, and impact. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you've got people, who's somebody in your life, baby, that impacted
Cindy
you.
Cravens.
Oh, look at it.
I have to.
Cindy Cravens is a saint.
Cindy Cravens. Yeah. I mean, she's taught me so many things, just how to be a good mother and, a spiritual mother of the house. And loyalty and,
Don't uncover.
persistence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just having unconditional love. So I would definitely have to say Cindy Cravens has taught me so many things and just modeling that for me and me being able to watch that. And Michelle and Anastasi.
Yeah, Pastor
sure.
Michelle. Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course. What was that book my mom brought you? She looked and found it was like an old book, like how to spiritual warfare or something
Spiritual
when we were
warfare.
going
Yeah.
through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. And if you're out there, we're all people in this struggle, in this faith struggle, trying to go the same way. You know what I mean? If you try to please everybody and run everything through filters every time you're doing something, that's stressful, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's stressful to try to impress other people because
I
you
guess
can't
that's
keep
one
it
of
up.
the really healthy things about me not being on social media
Mm,
because I don't see that and I don't have time to worry about it. So
mm.
it's not in my head and I
Yeah.
don't have any concerns about that.
Same thing with me, and same thing with Jackson. There's certain things he don't tell me, or he
he's
just
gonna cover you.
he well, and he's like, Dad. He's so
Smart.
advanced in his saying about stress and
Yeah.
and stuff. He's like, and I'll be like, well, you need to tell me, this dude
Yeah.
or that dude. And he's like, nah, that ain't
It's
no
not
big thing,
important.
Dad. People don't care, you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
much or whatever. Even like the comments of people, or whatever.
Yeah, because I just feel like so many times people would rather say negative things than positive things.
I feel out there, some people, no matter what you do, they're determined to misunderstand you.
Yeah.
No matter what
Because
you
of their
do, they're
perspective.
determined to find the fault in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like Google reviews. You can have 100 people saying you're the man and one person saying you're bad, and that's the Bible. You know what I mean? Something Buff Bagwell said, the bad story's always better. You know what I mean?
It's
And that's true.
It is true.
But I've learned some people are determined to find fault in it, and they're determined to misunderstand you.
Right.
They want to argue about this. And a lot of it's religious people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's, think about it. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul talks about, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but I can look it up. I have it somewhere on there, but I'm not here to please you. I'm
Right.
here to please God, and I can, rest basically and know that He did what it is. It's like me, I'm not here to argue about who I used to be. It's evident. Watch any podcast or watch what it is.
Yeah.
But what I'm here to do is move forward and see who I can help by sharing our story
Absolutely.
and telling what
That's our
Jesus
mission,
did. Right?
right?
And once you get the mission, it ain't easy, but
No.
boy, you get the
Oh,
focus
man,
and
is
you're
it
ready to
rewarding.
go.
It
You know what I
is.
mean?
Even like with our marriage class.
Yeah.
I look forward to
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see everybody, and I do. I just love being able to be in there and communicate and
It's just
learn
been,
and
it's
teach.
been
and
awesome.
It is
We're
awesome.
crying 1 minute,
Yeah.
laughing the next minute.
It's very emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional
It's
when
healing,
it's
though.
emotional when you open up and talk about real life with people.
Well,
you
absolutely,
do
because
life
you're making
together.
yourself vulnerable. And so
Yeah.
many people they don't want everybody to know all this, but
No.
I mean, I think you and I are both at a place where we're like, man, let's use it for good,
Yeah.
right?
You tell people. I mean, hey, I used to be wild and crazy and wanted everybody to know stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I now? So
Absolutely.
as you're going today, when you type up your next post, is it to impress or is it to impact?
Mm.
When you take a picture, is it to impress or is it to impact? And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, we have a brand, we have a group, we do music, we do
Right.
podcasts. You have to put it out there. So we'll take a picture, but a lot of times that's just to let people know how grateful we are, who we are. Because
Yeah.
there was times Jahnna would be like, "Don't take a picture of me."
Yeah.
Look at, there was a time Jahnna had a video of me
Mm-hmm.
being crazy looking through. I'm like, get that off your phone right now. What,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's what God can do if you surrender and change. You know what I mean? It's all branding, it's all building. And I get the business aspect of it.
Yeah.
I get all that. But I also, whenever you let that overtake what God's called you to do, and you're doing it because you want to make sure people know this or that, then that's when I check out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
You agreed?
Agreed.
So while we're on here, guys, maybe you've noticed this T-shirt I'm wearing. 99 to 1. It's our #1 selling t-shirt.
Everybody loves these.
And it wouldn't be printed on anything else than a fly fit tee. You know why? Because it makes everybody look good, even mine. Now, this top section's not looking too bad. We're going to keep the table blocking the lower section. You know what I mean? But it still makes everybody. Fly fit tees, I'm not even joking. They're the most comfortable t-shirt in the world. They really are.
They are. They fit your arms just perfect. They're just soft.
They're just so soft.
Heavy material.
I love them. Also, you know, the clean cause for a good cause. 50% of the net profits go for drug recovery. We drink them a lot. I mean, I've been trying to wean myself down a little bit because I was like, they're healthy. So if I drink 5, they're better. But I've been trying to stay at 1 a day, and I'm just trying to change up some stuff. Yeah. Jahnna's got the girl collagen ones there. Of course, Nevin Eyewear, Bob's rocking them back there. You can look on any of our recent posts. We're wearing Nevin's because we've been traveling and in the sun and
warm at the water park.
Just had I used to think I had to be at the best party to have fun, or had to have money to spend to show everybody I was the man because I was FOPOing. You know what I mean? I had FOPO. Had a bad case, FOPO. Tim, FOPO. But anyway, not POPO, Tim, FOPO. Shout out to my favorite 5-0 for this month as we celebrate police officers and military. Tim Jarrett, who served. He also retired from Collier County Sheriff's Office. You know, in all honesty, I know I give Tim a lot of love because I do love the dude for real, like a brother. Like an older brother, though. A little older than me, but he's like a brother. But I could see Tim would be a fair police officer. Like my Uncle Claude. My Uncle Claude was a police officer. And he would always say he gave them the same that they gave him. Right. If he walked up and they started being rude, he'd be like, hey, buddy. I could see where Tim, and even John Huffman said Tim was a fair police officer. I could see that. You know what I mean? He probably didn't take the old nightstick like happened to my ribs. You know who you were, guys. You know, give me a little beaten down back in the day.
Might have needed that, buddy.
But no, seeing the Nevins back there. Also, you know, this podcast talks a lot about marriage because we're trying to make marriage great again. Or maybe you just are looking for some new jewelry. Duncan's Diamonds is the best. When you think of jewelry, or if you think of diamonds, there's only one name, and it's Duncan's Diamonds. There's a link below to go see what deals they're having. You can go visit many of the stores. There's so many locations. Website below. They're a supporter of the Relentless Hope Podcast because they know if you want to make marriage great again, there's no better place than to start at Duncan's Diamonds.
That jewelry, baby.
Get some diamonds, baby. And there's all kinds of stuff. Rolexes, whatever you need. Duncan's Diamonds. So, baby, you looking good in that line. No, but really, that's really why I wanted to hop on here. I know we're not your basic Christian podcast, guys. I know it. I know we don't Bible beat people up, and I'm not against anybody who does. But I can tell you, when Jesus put something on my heart, when I get on here and talk, it's something that I've actually went through, or I had to deal with, or it's an addiction. That's an addiction. I mean, you're a people pleaser. You know what I mean? You try to make everybody happy, and sometimes people's approval can get us off the wrong path or keep us the path God wants to go on.
Keeps your focus on something.
I've had pastors in my life tell me that it wasn't of God, and I knew God was telling me it was, and I didn't go do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I let their approval go over what God had birthed in me and told me.
Right.
So if you're out there, maybe you're waiting. You don't have to wait on nobody to give you approval to start telling people about Jesus. Maybe you want to start a podcast. Come down to 239 Live. You don't got to have no approval to start a podcast unless Tim don't let you in here. But I'm sure he would because he loves people. And he loves people to film podcasts. Maybe you want to start a ministry, music, a church, a homeless ministry, whatever it is. You know, you don't need nobody's approval to go out and start telling people about Jesus. Right. You know what I mean? So if you're out there, don't let FOPO be a part of your life. Get the FOPO on out. Get the FO out of here, FOPO. And you just worry about what God says about you. Right, baby? Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Am I wrong, baby?
You're so right.
Am I wrong? And by the way, what about this Make Marriage Great Again hat over there? I
love those hats.
You like that?
Fire.
Yeah, man.
Pops.
I gave my boy Brent Evans one.
I know, and he was rocking.
Yeah,
he looked great in it.
He's an awesome guy, man.
Super cool.
And Eric, yeah. But Brent Brent,
Don't forget Kimmy, my girl Kimmy.
Yeah,
Shout
Kimmy.
out
The
to
whole
Kimmy.
XO team is just
Oh, man, I
awesome,
love
man.
her.
I know we harp on it because it's just part of our life. And
Yeah.
I told Jahnna from the first time we went there, I was like, this is going to be part of our life.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
man.
Every time I
love
go to Texas, I don't want to leave.
Got that Texas Twinkie, though.
Oh, my gosh. Have you ever ate a Tim, have you ever had a Texas Twinkie?
He goes.
I sent Tim a picture. I sent Tim a picture of
It's
a Texas
big
Twinkie.
Old jalapeno pepper stuff with brisket. Oh,
Brisket,
Jesus.
cream cheese, wrapped in bacon.
Oh, and glazed with
Oh,
barbecue
let me tell you
sauce.
about this girl. Okay.
Ooh, do we got to tell everybody that?
Yeah, Jahnna can eat and I gain weight, right? Y'all know this, right? So we go in and we were so hungry after we shot the podcast and everything. So we go into this, what's the name of the place?
I always forget.
Oh my gosh. But they charge you by the pound, right? So you don't want to go in there
Don't eat
hungry.
with your eyes.
You go in and she's like, I want 2 of those ribs. And they're like, the dude's like, 2? He brought them in. They look like Flintstones, bro. One of them was like $62. I was like, she'll just have one. She's all right with that one right there. That'd be all right.
He pulled them out. And that's how much was I go, okay. That's how big they were. I was like,
And
okay.
then, the sides, man. I mean, the Texas Twinkie, this place is, I feel so, is it Christians? What's the name of it?
No.
Man, I feel
Something
bad.
with an H.
Hutchins Barbecue
baby.
and South Lake is where that was. South Lake,
Slamming.
Texas. It's so good, man.
I'll be back
I'm
in
telling you.
November.
Also, there's something else, something that changes our life that we're part of. It's called the XO Institute. If you click on the link below, there's a link. Maybe you just looking for some resources.
Yeah.
Maybe to get closer to God or help with your marriage. Maybe you're needing some coaching, some one-on-one stuff. You just want to get some of the resources we talk about, like Marriage on the Rock, the 4 Laws of Love,
Good.
any of the XO stuff. Eric Kennedy's books on there. There's going to be a link in here. Go to the xoinstitute.com, sign up for that. John and I are members, and it's something that Brent has launched, going to the next level of XO, carrying on the vision. Classes. They got workshop classes. XO Institute, a link below. It's life-changing. Hey, we're going to take you out of here with some segments on how to break free. Check your heart. Ask yourself why you need their approval. Speak truth over yourself. What does God say you are? Say no more often. Stop breaking yourself to make others comfortable. The scripture, you are chosen generation, a royal priesthood, 1 Peter 2:9. You've already been chosen and approved. You don't need their approval. This is David Cravens with my beautiful, savage wife over there to the right. We're out of here.
Peace, love, and chicken grease.
Peace, love. She's classy, y'all.
I'm hungry.
Stay classy, Southwest Florida.
Stay classy.